Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another lovely episode of And Rolling.
Are we recording at the Carmichael?
The Carmichael.
And rolling at the
And
Carmichael.
Carmichael, and Rolling.
Where we saw Ready or Not 2, Here I Come.
Yes, indeed.
In case you haven't listened to us before, I'm Maddie.
I'm Matt.
And we would highly recommend that you go back and listen to our Ready or Not episode last week, earlier this week, I guess.
Yeah.
Released on Friday.
Yeah.
To the episode for the first Ready or Not, as this is a sequel.
Yeah. Yeah, go listen to it. We highly encourage it.
Scram!
Yeah.
Come back when you've listened.
Maddie, do you want to tell us what Radio Not 2 is about?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're using a lot of falsetto today.
Well, I just
Like
feel
up,
like it,
up
you know?
in the clouds. Yeah. Okay, so Ready or Not 2 picks up where Ready or Not 1 left off. Grace has thwarted her in-laws, the La Domases, in their deadly game of hide and seek. And she is now in a ambulance on her way to the hospital, and she's like fading in and out of consciousness, and she's remembering snippets. It's a good way of like bringing the audience back up to speed with what's already happened in case they aren't like us and watched it right before we went.
Yeah.
At the hospital, there's a police officer who's talking to her and is clearly thinking that she's killed people. You have to remember that the La Domases have imploded. And so, like, there's a lot of blood, but not a lot of bodies. But the bodies that are there are of the three maids and the butler. And so he's saying that she looks pretty guilty in their murder.
Yep.
And she's also wearing a ton of blood that isn't hers because, as we saw, everyone imploded in front of her and she was splattered. Anyway, she's like, I just want a cigarette. I didn't do it, but I just want a cigarette. And all of a sudden, a younger blonde woman walks in, and that is Grace's estranged sister, Faith. There's maybe an 3-year difference.
I was like,
that's
I don't
a
think
pretty
it's,
big jump.
I was like, I don't think it's 8 years. I think it's like a 4-year difference between them.
There's a difference where they are different ages.
There you go. And Grace is older. That's all you need to know.
Word soup. So the officer is like, well, you've got to come to the station and answer some questions. And on their way to well, actually, while that's happening, while the officer is with Grace in the hospital, there is a very old man sitting and watching the news. And it just says, like, conflict increases. And it has, like, generic images of war. And you see him pick up a phone and be like, tell them to accept the peace treaty. And then immediately the news changes and it's like, update, peace treaty accepted.
Yeah.
Conflict is over. And just very funny. And so he gets he is visited by Elijah Wood, who is a lawyer. And Elijah Wood informs him that the La Domases were bested by the bride, and that a seat is now open. And so he enters this like group chat where you actually see a picture from the first Ready or Not. The brother-in-law takes like a selfie and posts and like texts someone and is like, this is a crazy night. And so you see that. And then underneath it, this old guy writes that the bride survived and the ball is in play. And then there's this montage of all of the people in the group chat receiving it. So there's like a woman in Shanghai, 2 guys in London, a man in Spain, and then there's his own children, his 2 adult children.
And there's a guy in New Jersey.
Oh, right. There's a
Coked
record.
Out dude in New Jersey.
There's a record exec in New Jersey who has a whole box full of coke, and he does a ton of it. And then the old man who ended the war, his adult children come to him, and it's Sarah Michelle Gellar and some other guy who I think is on The Pit. But I'm not watching The Pit, so I couldn't say.
The more you learn.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And they come in and he's like, you know what you have to do. And then they smother him with a pillow. Their names are Titus and Ursula. And they're kind of the main, I don't know, they seem like they're running
They're
things.
the main bad guys, I would say.
Yeah. the most. They're like the Kato and Glimmer of the Hunger Games.
Yeah.
So then you cut back to Grace at the hospital, and she's like escorted out on a wheelchair with the cop walking next to her and her sister walking on the other side. And then there's this guy, the record exec. He comes busting and he's super coked up, and he throws a knife and it gets the cop in the throat, and he's like down for the count, obviously. And then everyone's like hiding, and Grace is freaking out. She's like, not again, not again, not again. And Faith is like, what the fuck just happened?
Yeah.
They're kind of creeping around the hospital trying to get free.
He explodes because he doesn't follow Mr. LaBelle's rules.
Right.
Yeah. Which Elijah Wood states later on. He's like, oh, that's what you get.
Yeah. Because, right. Anyway, at that time, as he's exploded and Faith is really freaking out and Grace is like so traumatized, Elijah Wood and some other people enter with gas masks and canisters of gas, knocking out Faith and Grace. So then you cut to the twins at their family. They're the Danforth or the the Danforths, I think.
I think that's it.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like that.
So they're making everyone evacuate, and as the people are leaving, they head to this like lodge on the grounds near the golf course. And they welcome all of the people who we saw in the montage, minus the coked up executive. And all of those people have brought like a second, essentially, or their child.
Yeah.
And they get into this room. Elijah Wood comes out with this giant book. He brings in Grace and Faith, and they're like gagged and terrified. He explains some of the rules where it's like everyone is now, because she won, she's triggered a second game, essentially like double or nothing. And she and her sister are going to be hunted by this group of people because a seat on Mr. LaBelle's High Council has opened. And so the like head of each family is competing to kill them. Whoever kills them will be the High Counselor. Basically the like person who's the most in charge of everything.
They have all the power in the world, more or less.
Yeah, which does beg the question, like, what's going on with the other counselors? But we'll get, whatever. You can't have everything. And so that's why the Davenport twins killed their dad, because he wasn't physically able to compete. So now they're competing. But another one of the rules is that the families can't kill each other, and they can't break any of the rules or they will be imploded. And that's why the music executive imploded, because he wasn't allowed to try and kill her before the game started.
Yep.
So they get knocked out. The people go to compete. They're on like hole 9 of the golf course, just like passed out. And the families start to run to hunt them. They wake up and realize they're handcuffed and they have to work together. They run into the forest. Well, actually, yeah.
Everything you said is right.
They run into the forest first. They're kind of like in and out the forest. So they run into the forest. They have a quick altercation with the twins. And then they are running through a field, and the Spanish dude has a sniper rifle, and he starts shooting, and he's a terrible shot.
Yeah, and they like mention it. Like, it's like a big thing. They're like, dude, your dad is the worst shot.
Because all of the kids that they've brought are just watching.
Yeah.
Again, this movie was very like Hunger Games adjacent.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so they're watching from the lodge. So the girls like figure out how to kind of get free of that. They start like a smoke. I don't know. There's smoke.
They start, so they're hiding behind a like fireplace, and Faith gets the idea to throw some leaves on a fire, which just creates a ton of smoke.
Yeah.
And
so they're running away, and the Spanish guy, like, it blows up.
Yeah.
And the Spanish guy thinks that he's killed one of the London dudes, or the London dude competing. Luckily, he doesn't, for him. Luckily for him.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, his family would have been, like, immediately imploded.
So then, basically what happens is, Grace and Faith, they run into like the laundry room for the hotel, and they find a little cutter where they can cut off their handcuffs. And the London guy's like, "Oh man, I got you now," but then he doesn't see them. And then basically there's like a little fight, and they trick him into falling into one of the like washing machines, like the industrial washing machines, and he like melts to death, for lack of a better word.
So just like gross.
It was, yeah, his like he literally melts.
He like falls out of the laundry machine and he's like bubbly.
Yeah.
So after that, they are confronted by the woman from Shanghai.
Okay, I thought that
who
was
says that
when
she
happened.
knows a loophole.
Yeah.
And it's that Grace needs to marry her son, who is just like, if you guys remember the brother from Crazy Rich Asians, like Awkwafina's brother, that's who this guy is. Like, he's just this kind of loser, like on his phone,
Playing Switch.
Gaming and always eating, and like really oblivious guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what's the catch? And she's like, well, you'd have to participate in this sort of thing when it happens. And Grace is like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sell my soul.
Yeah.
And as that's happening, the Spanish guy, Ignacio, he comes in and they start fighting, and the girls kind of direct, and they move her arm to then accidentally cut through the Spanish dude's throat. So he dies. And also the Shanghai bloodline implodes.
Yeah. Basically, one of the London guy now has to compete because it goes to like next of kin, and he's like, I'm not doing that. So he signs up his wife for the blood oath, and she's like, dude, what the hell? And so
yeah, she's really mad. And also, something we didn't mention earlier is that the Spanish bloodline, the oldest child, so now that Ignacio's dead, his oldest child is Alex, Ladomis's ex-fiance.
yeah.
And so she's like calling Grace a whore and a homewrecker, and Grace is like, I've literally never heard of you.
Yeah.
And so that just adds like another layer to this whole hunt.
Mm-hmm.
So now the London wife and the ex-fiance are in the game. So they get a hold of a phone in the casino, and they call 911, and Ursula picks up because she's directed all calls out of the compound to go to her because they own the phone company apparently. And she is like, come to the gate and we'll help you out. And so the girls start to head to the gate. They are confronted there. Like Ursula and her brother Titus are waiting, and they're like, where are they? They should be here by now. And then the girls surprise attack them. They're like, yeah, we knew that was you the whole time. Like, we're not stupid. And they are just trying to get through the gate. They like hold the twins hostage, and they're like, tell me how to get through. They won't say it. And then the wife of the London guy just drives through the gate and out of the game. Like, she's just gone.
Yeah.
And so then they could be free, and Grace is telling her to run, but Ursula has Grace, and they're like choking her out. And so Faith comes back, and they like, I don't know, they
Faith basically saves Grace, and then is what happens. And then instead of running away, and then they run into the
so then Grace and Faith have a big fight, and they like kind of split up. And so then Titus attacks Faith and kidnaps her. Meanwhile, the daughter Francesca, the like ex-fiance, she and Grace
have like a drunken, it's not a drunken fight. They have like pepper spray each other.
They both get pepper sprayed.
It's very funny.
And you just see them like fighting the air close to each other. It's so funny, and like, yeah. That was definitely a standout moment in the movie. But then through the intercom, Titus taunts Grace and tells her to come to the main lounge, which is where he says Faith is being held captive. But she sees on the CCTV that they've actually brought Faith to the lodge. So she heads there and she storms the lodge, and also she's found a shotgun and bandolier of bullets, just like the first movie. So she's decked out the way she was before. And in the lodge, she gets stuck in a freezer, and very quickly they find her and they're like, we're gonna kill Faith if you don't come out of there. But she's like, wait, there's a loophole. If I marry Titus, this is all over. You get your seat and nobody has to die. So that ends the hunt, and then they're going to get married. Ursula comes to talk to Grace and is like, we need to work together to control my brother. This game has shown me that he's like completely unhinged and can't be like controlled, and he's going to have all of this power. And Grace is like, that's really not my problem. And then Titus is like in the corner of the room and heard all of it, and so he kills Ursula. Grace is like traumatized once again, and he says, well, there's no rule against killing family, and soon you'll be my family. So then they have this big whole wedding in this creepy underground crypt with a giant chair and a clock and a pentagram on the floor. Grace looks absolutely stunning, like the anti-bride.
Yeah, she finally takes a shower and gets makeup.
Up.
Yeah,
and
it's
she
like, okay.
is so beautiful. Like, I was like, oh, Halloween costume for sure. This whole movie, though, felt like a Halloween costume. And so they get married, and everyone is signing everything in this movie with a pen that's like a knife, and then the ink is your own blood.
It's a blood pen. It's a blood pen.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Oh, sure. Naturally. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't realize they had their own names.
Yeah.
Okay, a blood pen, everyone, obviously. And she takes the blood pen and just absolutely stabs Titus in the neck and is like, now I got you, ha ha ha. And then
there's no rule against killing family.
So then she has the crazy ring that's like, I'm the head of the council, and she's like, I really don't want this. So she throws it in this pit, and all of the worshippers of Satan and Mr. LaBelle, they essentially like jump in the pit and kill each other trying to get the powerful ring.
Yeah.
She and Faith take the goat they were about to sacrifice and leave.
Yeah, and everyone explodes when trying to get the ring.
Because there's like a time limit. This movie is very complicated. I'm sorry, this summary is kind of like all
I'm going to
over the
cut
place.
it down, don't worry.
I know, but like even so, I feel like it's hard to follow. But this movie is just like very twisty and turny, and there's lots of visuals, which is hard then when everything's like to describe the plot when everything's so visual, I think.
Yeah.
So there's like a time limit. If no one is wearing the ring at the end of 3 minutes from when she drops it in the pit, then everyone explodes. And of course that pit is full of rotting bodies and goats and whatever else.
You just need to know that everyone explodes because they don't get the ring. That's it.
Yeah.
That's literally it. So that's the movie. Yeah. And then Grace and Faith walk away free.
With the goat.
Yeah. Maddie, what did you do you have any thoughts, any themes that you want to touch on?
Well, I had so many thoughts. I mean, like, I'm sure we'll get into themes, but like right off the bat, I thought this movie was so well done, and I really loved the first one. I was nervous, maybe a little nervous, just because, you know, these sequels, sometimes they are fine, but they don't live up. I thought this one was such a good continuation of this plot line. It wasn't the same thing. Like, you got some of what made it great in the first one, but then they added on to it in a really satisfying way.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like this whole council situation and the exploration of the broader world with Mr. LaBelle really let the world breathe.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, all the better for it.
Yeah. I think that and I also think that it broadened out where you get to see different dynamics between the LaBelle family members.
Exactly.
Which I thought was interesting because you get to see different reasons as to why everyone's kind of trying to cling to the power that they have and everything and what they want. They don't go into a whole bunch of detail for it, but you do. I mean, there are reasons. I think that Alex's ex-fiance is a good one. I mean, obviously the twins have a really big thing because they want to maintain what they have. And I don't know, it just makes it's more interesting in that way, you know?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. I mean, I think it took something that was very contained, right? Like one family, one house,
yeah.
and just expanded it in a way that felt really dynamic.
Yeah, I agree. What else did you think?
I mean, like we spoke about in the last episode we spoke about how there's a little bit of retconning with with Catherine, whatever her character, Faith. Like
Yeah.
Grace has no family, and then in this one, I'm glad they at least addressed it, and they were like, I only told them that because I didn't, like they
They
made
explain it pretty well,
yeah, they
honestly.
explain it in a way that's like very believable. So I actually didn't have a problem with that.
No, not at all. Not at all.
I thought that the cast of this one was pretty fun. One of the reasons why I wasn't super worried about this and was only like slightly like, ooh, this could be, in the way
Mhm.
that every sequel could be questionable.
Mhm.
Um, was that it had some really big names like Sarah Michelle Gellar and Elijah Wood, because I just feel like they're able to choose their projects a little more carefully.
Yeah, if I may say though, I'm kind of disappointed with Elijah Wood's role in this movie. I thought he was going to have a bigger role and then he just plays like a very one-note kind of guy who does lawyer things. And I'm like,
I know.
"Ah,
I sort of thought that
okay."
the twist with him would have been that he was Mr. LaBelle.
That's what I thought, that he was going to be like a demon or something.
Yeah.
Like, and was going to like play a role in that, but then no, he's just another human or whatever who's like a lawyer for Mr. LaBelle, and I was like,
And we didn't even like come close to dissecting in the film like the questionable like motive of that, you know what I mean?
motive of
Like
him.
him being a lawyer for the devil. Like that's also
Well,
that's like just as bad as all these council members.
I think that it plays into like the butler from the last movie. You know, like people who are close to power who want to cling to power, sort of a situation. I think it's the same. I think the same dynamic is at play, honestly,
Do
in my
you?
opinion. Yeah.
Okay, because
What do you think? Do you not think
well,
that?
he had such a mischievous air, and I know that Elijah Wood usually does, but in this way of like it seemed to me that he was very gleeful that the council was essentially being disbanded, right? Like Mr. LaBelle's cleaning house in some ways. Grace, like he lets Grace well, okay. And I was thinking about this earlier
Mm-hmm.
because while watching the movie, I was really kind of concerned that when she marries into the Danforth family, then when all of the people were imploding because no one was wearing the ring, I was like, but wait, that would mean that Grace would implode because she was now a member of the Danforth family. But
She revokes the power, though.
well, she revokes the power. But also today, I was thinking and I was like reminiscing on the first one, and I was like, well, the Mr. LaBelle doesn't claim her. That's the whole thing that sets this into motion.
Yeah.
Is that like he doesn't think she's one of them,
And she's not.
and she's not. But like if there was any possibility that she could have been, one of the council or whatever, she wouldn't have pulled hide and seek. So in
Yeah.
that way, I'm like, you know what? I won't even like worry about her revoking like that whole concept of could she be imploded.
Yeah, also but there's the whole explanation by Elijah Wood and he's like, you're free to go, basically, and she's like, awesome.
I know, but I just didn't like buy that after all of the other things of like the other families couldn't opt out. It didn't make sense to me that she could.
I will say this, Mr. LaBelle or whatever does play fair in that sense. Like he's like, these are the rules, and if you play by the rules, you're good. And Grace plays by the rules.
She does. And
Yeah.
also I don't think he wants her.
Right.
And like I think
Yeah.
that's maybe even superseding anything else is like from the beginning, the whole reason that we're here at all is because he didn't want her. For, XYZ reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So that was something that, like, in the moment I thought was maybe a little plot holy, and then when I really thought about it, I logicked my way into a reason.
Yeah, I didn't feel, I guess I never thought that it was, but
and I think in that sense this movie does, like, it, what a standout for a script that you're able to take what was clearly, like, that first movie was not developed, I think, with a sequel in mind.
No, and I am worried now though that the studio is going to be like if this performs well enough, they're going to be like, we need a third one. And this one I am like, okay, I can see where the sequel like comes into play and everything, but for this next one I am like, where do you go from here?
I think the only way you could do another one is to not have Grace be a part of it. I do feel like Grace has done her time. It's over. I think you could maybe do, like, I don't know, a prequel.
Like a Scream thing where it's like different people and then randomly Grace comes back at certain times in the franchise.
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah.
Or it's like Mr. LaBelle is the uniting force. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know what you mean.
But... Well, the reason that we think there might be a third, you want to tell everyone?
Sure. I mean, I've never had this happen before to me, and I've never seen anything like this, but, like, there were people from whoever, like...
from the studio, I think.
Yeah, but I think they were, like, contractors paid by the studio.
Oh, well, sure.
Is what
They're
it was.
not, like, flown out from L.A.
Yeah, but they were clearly, like... No, and, like, yeah, it's, like, another company that's, like, contracted by them. But they were doing, like, surveys and stuff, and they were like, what do you think about the movie? What did you see this weekend? You know, would you recommend people to see this? And how would you recommend them to see this? And stuff like that.
It was clearly a
cool.
studio survey, and we both, because of certain answers, we ended up answering different questions. Like, we got put on different tracks.
Yeah.
But one thing that we did answer was whether we would be interested in a third. I said no.
I said if there was like a option for me that was like, if there's a potential for it, yes, but it's not necessary or whatever.
I said no because I like it. I like this franchise so much. I don't want them to run it into the ground.
Oh, I definitely agree with you there. I mean, I think that's always a concern. There was like a definite yes thing, and I was like, no, absolutely not. Which is crazy because the other movie that was on that list was, they were like, did you see Project Hail Mary or Ready or Not 2? And if they asked about like a sequel with Project Hail Mary, I would have been like, no. Like, what do you, like, absolutely not. There should never be a sequel to this movie.
Like, he goes back to Earth and the whatever didn't get there.
Especially in retrospect, because we just saw Project Hail Mary as well, and I was like, no, like, you can't do a sequel to this movie. Like, it's impossible.
Yeah, I mean, that is kind of how I feel with this one, because the council's gone. Presumably, Mr. LaBelle will rebuild the council with new people that he's making new deals with.
Yeah, like, I could see, like, it would be interesting to do, like, a spin-off movie of him, like, thwarting someone into this as, like, a character study sort of a thing. Like, that could be an interesting spin-off. But, like, it definitely would not be the same movie, that's for sure. It would be more of, like, a melodrama thing.
Well, I could also see it where, like, Grace and Faith are like, we've got to keep people from saying yes.
Yeah, but
like, I don't know how you find that. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see a good logical continuation.
No, there's definitely not a logical continuation. That's for sure.
What do you think? Because there's kind of a difference here. This movie was, the first one came out in 2019, and this one comes out 7 years later, but no time has passed. What did you think of that choice?
I'm actually fine with there not being any time passing. I was like, oh man, are they going to look older? But I guess they don't. So
I mean, it's only the one girl.
Samara Weaving, yeah. And I guess
she looked very similar to me.
yeah, she looks very similar.
Ugh, in a
So
killer move, she's like leaving the hospital, obviously, and she's like, I can't run in this hospital gown, so she has to put on her bride outfit from the first movie.
yeah.
And that's what she's wearing for a good chunk of the movie.
I am like, this is the weird part for me is I'm like, if someone is watching this, like they watch the first one, then they watch the second one, which like once it gets on streaming, you're gonna do.
Yeah.
Like they have this like heroic music as she puts on the outfit, and I'm like, that was 5 minutes ago. You know what I mean? Like that's where I was at. I was like that, especially for us because we just watched it.
Oh, I fell victim to that. I was very
really
hyped when they.
I was not.
As she's
I
like
was
pulling
like,
on the yellow
okay.
chucks. I was like, hell yeah, that's my Grace.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was like, whatever. Like we just saw this. We just saw it. It kind of felt a little bit like a Stranger Things-y to me, where it's like we just saw someone and then they do another thing in the next episode and everyone's like, whoa. And I'm like, just happened, you know?
I guess.
So,
no, I mean, for me it worked. But yeah, I wasn't watching them truly back to back.
Right. I understand what you're saying. Yeah. Were there any themes that you really liked at all or anything like that?
I mean, I liked the whole drama with her sister.
Did you really?
Yeah, actually I did.
Tell me why.
Doesn't sound like you did.
I did not like Faith that much as a character, honestly.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. I felt her to be annoying at a lot of times. Like I was sitting there and with Grace's thing, and I was like, no, Grace is right. And also, the other thing that I felt really bad about is Grace gets, like, beat the hell up several times. Several arrows and glass shards. Like,
a stake right above her heart.
Right. Like,
Grace's body really does go through it, this movie, even more so than the last one.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, this girl is running on pure adrenaline. She's basically, like, her body is just bruised to high hell. It has to be. And has open wounds, literal holes in her hand, and she's just still kicking. And I'm like,
she's maybe the toughest woman I know.
Like, yeah, I'm like, the adrenaline that you must be having. And she gets like beat the hell up. And then Faith gets beat up in the last third of the movie. And I'm like, finally, like somehow Faith avoids all of this like destruction. And then,
they aren't really trying to kill her.
I know they're not trying to kill her, but it's like the fact, because sometimes it's like the most bizarre things that happen, and Faith is fighting, and like she doesn't get hit at all. I just feel like Grace took a lot of punches, and Faith didn't. And then Grace is like, Faith, you gotta slow down, and Faith is like, you're a bitch, and I'm like, what? like. I don't know. I just felt like Faith's character was a little like, a little bit of a little sister sometimes. And I was like, shut up. Like, just annoyed me.
We are two eldest children, so.
Yeah. Claire, let me know what you think about that recap.
I liked their, I will say I did recognize, I was like, damn, Grace is taking a beating.
Yes.
And then I will say Faith, when she got beat up, she got beat up. That looked miserable.
Yeah, I mean...
and not that Grace's doesn't, but just that, like, in a very short amount of time, like, Grace is kind of getting it steadily, and then Faith has just one real ass-kicking.
Yeah.
That leaves you surprised she has any teeth left. Like...
Yeah.
But... I liked the emotional part of their dynamic because I especially that one fight where both of them, it seems like neither of them want to say what they're saying. They're sniping at each other. They're really like twisting the knife into each other. But neither of them can resist because they're so hurt and angry with each other, and they know exactly what to say to twist that knife.
Yeah.
and it seems like they don't want to say it, but there's like this compulsion. And I felt like that seemed really true to those kinds of close long-term dynamics of, you know exactly what to do to really aggravate the other person. And
Mm.
when you have these moments, like it's just pure escalation, and coming down from it in that immediate moment seems so impossible.
Do you think that's supposed to be like a mirrored reflection of Titus and Ursula?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
I was
that,
just
I mean,
wondering.
like, in part, right? Like, you could have this whole movie and no Faith. They didn't need to add that in.
Yeah.
But I think it's more interesting to
Okay.
up the stakes. The
Okay.
whole double or nothing. I think that that's the whole concept. So double, you need two times the antagonists in some ways, like the main antagonist,
Sure.
and then two times the heroine. And so I think like that's the guiding principle probably for this production.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. I think that what you're saying where it's like you could take out Faith is kind of how I feel about her character in a lot of ways.
But I think you'd be missing out on what in part made this movie so fun.
Yeah, and she also plays a necessary, I mean, you would have to write it differently, I guess, but like she plays a necessary role in enticing Grace to get back to the lodge and everything.
That,
Like,
and also Grace, I don't think could have made it physically.
yeah, like on her own.
On her own,
Is
like
what you're
she's
saying?
so beaten up.
Yeah.
Like there's a couple different purposes. Like all I'm saying is you could in theory make this story without her, without Faith, but it would lack some of that like reality, quote unquote. Like
Yeah. There was
mean,
a point.
that's a thin reality.
There was a point. Honestly, it wasn't that far into the movie where, and I guess this plays into like my thing where I'm like, you're watching one, then you're watching the other, where I'm just like, this is what I was saying to you with the adrenaline. I'm just like, there's no way her body can keep going. Like,
Right, fully. But like you can kind of forgive that because she's got Faith doing some legwork, right?
Yeah.
And kind of taking some of the heat, and also that inner, you don't have to go into her inner psyche to understand why she's like where she's finding the strength to keep going.
Yeah.
It's physically represented right next to her.
Fair enough. That makes sense to me.
Meanwhile, those twins, the exact opposite is kind of true.
Mm-hmm.
They need to eliminate one of them to hold all of the power. They don't get strength from each other. They're
Right.
actively trying to have more strength on their own.
Right.
So yeah, I do think that it's a very intentional, like, oh, the two siblings.
Yeah,
two
and
siblings.
the two siblings come together, like they're apart, then they come together. The other two are together, they fall apart.
And
like,
I think continuing the conversation we had earlier about how these movies do a really good job of showing patriarchy, you see how Ursula, and actually I have another point that I wanted to talk about last time that I didn't get to, but you see how Ursula is ultimately like hurt and killed and victimized because of her brother who can't not be in the patriarchy.
I was so that was my favorite part of the movie is when Ursula is coming to Grace and is like, we need to stick together. Like, we need to do XYZ and we can control him if we do this. And like, we can play at these things. And I was like, this is such a fascinating look into like,
it's a false assumption.
It's a false assumption, but then it's also like how you see how it would have been for like women back in quote unquote back in the day of like royalty and stuff, where it's like they don't have power but they have to try and influence their husbands, but like they're victims to whatever the men want to do, basically. And then Titus literally plays that out by killing her. I was like, that's so interesting to me.
So this goes to what I wanted to and forgot to say last time, which is that there's this theory that I personally do subscribe to, that bonds of kinship are what keep women from acting as a majority, because bonds of kinship, meaning that, like, I'm married to you, I'm your family. I have a dad, he's my family. And
Mm-hmm.
that makes me closer to men, to a man, than to a random woman I see on the street. And so there can never be a
Oh.
collective um, majority of women, because we live intertwined with men in these close relationships that make it really hard to see ourselves as
Mm,
a unit
yeah.
as opposed to strangers.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and so this whole thing of Sarah Michelle Gellar, she doesn't view Grace as someone worth saving until there's a bond of kinship. And then it's like, well, that aligns me with you, but we need to, like, try and sway the patriarchy, but only can happen if you're kin with me. Otherwise, you're expendable.
I have an interesting question then for you
Mm-hmm.
to like I guess like to play devil's advocate or something like that. The woman who the Chinese girl who's like, if you marry my son, then we can do everything, you know, and blah blah, and he's not a threat, and I'm really the one in charge. Like, that's the deal that Grace turns down because she would have to sell her soul or whatever. But she's the. It seems like, I guess not, because like they're like Grace would have to marry her son or whatever, but like
Mm-hmm.
she's clearly like the head matriarch, and she's the only
Yeah,
solo matriarch that we
yeah.
see in the film, and she's the one who presents the way out, and she's the one who has like a solution to all of this, but she's like quickly ignored and killed off, you know. And I don't know, I'm curious what you think about that then.
Well, I think, like, there's a couple things that are interesting,
Mm-hmm.
right? I don't necessarily believe that this movie's going to have a complete and whole philosophical framework that doesn't have, like, complexities to it, or even
Sure.
some contradictions.
Sure.
So I think both things can be true at the same time. Like, yeah, she can be a matriarch, and this can still be like a commentary about patriarchy. I think that it's interesting. Here's some things I think are just in general
Yeah.
of note. She is the only one who is looking for a non-violent path, but
Yeah.
her solution still gives her power under Mr. LaBelle's framework. So it's not like she's like,
Mm,
in this way,
that's a
okay?
good play.
And
Yeah.
in this way of
Mm-hmm.
what I argued in that article all those years ago, of Grace being like the the like capital letters, the woman, the bride,
Yeah.
the bride.
The bride.
She is kind of like this, you know, tearing down the patriarchy, if you will. Like, she's the head of her family,
Mm.
and she does dismantle this system. She rejects it and then tears it down. And so if
Yeah.
you're thinking about the patriarchy, not just, and hold on, because I have another thought on this, but if you're thinking about it as a big umbrella, Mr. LaBelle's umbrella is the biggest of them all. And then you have the council, which is a sub umbrella underneath his. And then
Oh, it's like that Jehovah's Witness
I
thing.
was going to say, it's like the
Yeah.
IBLP and like the
Yeah.
Duggar, like,
Yeah,
umbrella
yeah.
of influence, where your
Yep.
husband's the head of your house, but
Right.
then the pastor's the head of all of the households in
Yeah.
his denominate, you know, the whole
Mm-hmm.
thing. And I do think that you could read it in that way, where, sure, she's like a matriarch, but she's
She's still
falling under
under.
Mr. LaBelle's
Yeah.
umbrella, and she's not looking
Yeah.
to change the structure. And she even says, "I'm not a good person, but I'm better than Titus."
Yeah, and I definitely see what you're saying with that argument. Like, she still is working under LaBelle's thing, and Grace chooses to walk away from LaBelle's umbrella entirely.
And she's not looking to save Grace. She's looking for the
Right.
quickest and cleanest way
Mm-hmm.
to get the power,
Right.
which is to have her marry
Yeah,
her
just
son.
do this, and it's
And
easy and simple.
It's
Yeah.
not, I don't even think she cares that it's less bloody. It's that she can provide them an option that she doesn't think anyone else can. You know, like, I
Right.
don't think it
That.
crosses her mind that Grace would maybe marry Titus.
Mm-hmm.
And so none of the other, I mean, I guess, no, because Grace could have maybe married the guy from London, the original guy who gets put in the laundry machine, but then the other one's already married. So she's the only one with an eligible son.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and especially after the one guy,
And at that point, yeah, he's dead.
well, no, the one London guy, he signs away his head of household rights. So, like, it doesn't matter
Yeah,
if
but
she.
he's already married.
No, I'm saying, but like, if he were to divorce her,
Oh, yeah.
it does. Like,
But
he's signed everything away
but it
somehow.
wouldn't happen fast enough anyway, because this competition has to be done by dawn. Otherwise, they all implode again.
Right. Right.
Remember? So it
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
I wonder if that it would like be something with that girl, like with the wife who runs away. If somehow that's how they would make a third movie, like, oh, because she ran away from Mr. Littlebale's rules, but still played by like he ran away. She ran away from
No.
Mr. Bale, but still played by the rules. Like somehow she's
My
alive or
assumption is
something.
that she also imploded.
That is also my assumption, but I could see there being like, oh, there's a loophole and blah blah blah. That's the
Maybe.
only way I could see them tying this all together
Mm,
if they do it that way.
I think the connector has to just be Mr. LaBelle. I don't think the.
Yeah. Yeah. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. I'm just like,
I hope they do.
know.
Yeah. So that's. I think this was another really cool
Yeah.
exploration of more gender dynamic or gender like politics and theory
Yeah.
than class. Like, class is still important, don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
It's still a major thing, but I do think that this kind of hits home that the patriarchy is really.
I also think that like because everyone's exploding all the time, like everyone explodes all the time. I think that the writers are literally being like, we've said what we've said about that. And like because people are exploding, they're like, this isn't a shock value anymore. We're not going to touch on that as much. And like I do feel like
Wait, what do you mean? Like what?
like they're like, we're just not going to talk about class as much. Like it's still
Oh,
there and
okay.
people are exploding and everything, but like
Yeah.
it's not as much of a shock value in this movie as it was in the last one. Like in the last movie,
Well-
when everyone's exploding, you're like, whoa. In this one, it's
Well,
like some guy
we
explodes
know-
right at the beginning and then.
Yeah, like we
Wow.
know that that's the mechanic through which they all die. I guess I
Right.
just wasn't seeing how that related to class.
I'm just saying that like it's related to class in the sense of they're like, we've talked about class. It's here. It's still playing a role. People are exploding because of their class and stuff, but it's not as important as the gender dynamics that are.
I just think
occurring.
that the gender and patriarchy read is a lot more fruitful.
Yeah.
There's a lot more like visual and thematic things
Right.
that give it more of an impact if read that way.
I agree 100%. Yeah, I don't think the class thing is as interesting. Also, I think that this movie is a lot more. This sounds weird, but this movie is more action heavy in a lot of ways.
No, it definitely is.
Yeah, like this movie is. In the way that Ready or Not 1, we were like, it's sort of a horror movie. This one, I'm like, I really don't think it's a horror movie, and I would probably classify it as an action movie, in my opinion.
It didn't have those same like drawn out moments of suspense.
Right. And I think that's because most of it takes place during the day, actually.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah.
I thought that was an interesting choice that they made it during the day.
Yeah. And like the parts that are at dawn is
Underground
and really at the end, like it's the marriage and stuff like that, and you're like, okay.
I love too that like marriage is a punishment in this movie for her.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, it was just very funny to me.
Yeah. But I think that
something-
plays into the patriarchy control thing that we were talking about earlier,
right.
It's-
Oh, and this is what I was gonna say, which was that I thought the introduction of Alex's ex-fiance
Mhm.
was really interesting, and like,
How so? What do you find
well,
interesting?
I thought that it gave all of this a more personal touch, and like differentiated, as you kind of spoke to earlier, differentiated like extra reasons why Grace was being hunted.
Mm-hmm.
But then on top of it, again, that idea of like women aligning themselves.
Yeah.
And, like, I don't know if I have anything else profound to say, but
No.
just sort of like this one, they did not have the whole maid situation. There is a butler.
Yeah, and she wants power at the end. You're
Yeah,
like,
but they didn't
okay.
have any of the maid situation where like other people were dying in place of Grace.
Yeah.
And I just thought that this character, the ex-fiance, was just another interesting exploration of like women against women, or
Yeah.
women, like, yeah, I guess just women being divided
Yeah.
by the patriarchy, and how men don't get the blame for that. Like,
Yeah.
Alex, from everything that we know about Alex and Grace, those timelines don't overlap. But Alex gets no flack from her. Like, she's still hung up on him,
Yep.
even though he broke her heart. And in all of her emotions are turned on Grace.
Yeah. Yeah. I I agree. I think that there is a I think that there's something interesting at play, and how, well, I mean, you even see it with like, with like the patriarchy thing, where it's like turning men against each other, and just turning people against each other all around. And I don't know, it was interesting.
Well, say more about men turning against each other.
Where it's like, well, you stole this girl from me and blah 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 blah, and therefore, because they've consolidated some form of power, in then that's when like the mass scale like war conflicts break out and stuff like that. Like there's that,
Do you just mean like Helen of Troy, like that sort of
yeah,
situation?
sort of like that, where it's like, you stole this person from me and she's my property, sort of a thing,
Mm.
And like, I think that's where the patriarchy plays a role against men. For any man who doesn't think that this matters, that's where it matters. Is it's like, you have this perceived ownership over an individual, and you take that to an extreme where, yeah, like you get stories like Helen of Troy and wars, and then what then everyone's just killing each other. It doesn't make sense.
Wait, I'm not understanding why you say you think it doesn't matter, but this matters.
What doesn't matter is your perceived ownership of individuals. You don't own anyone.
Right, okay.
That's
If I'm understanding, what you're saying is that the patriarchy enforces this idea that men have ownership over like women and their children in ways that then prompts them, because they don't view people as human, capable of making their own choices, prompts them into violence,
yes.
and it encourages men to be violent.
Yes, and it encourages men to be violent, and it also is successful in consolidating power around certain individuals, particularly men, who then use that power to then get their minions to do the work for them, like we saw in the first movie with the butlers and stuff like that,
Right.
to then kill more people.
Or hurt more people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overall, not good stuff is
Yeah,
basically what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm
Instead
following.
of emphasizing the individual freedom that people have, basically, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's
Sure.
all. Yeah. Basically, what I'm saying, I'm actually coming at this from a very, in a weird way, like a kind of like Enlightenment era form of thinking about like freedom and stuff like that, and like, the maximum rights of the individual is kind of how I'm coming at it, from a weird way.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
tell.
Well, that's just how
I
I
feel like a lot of
think.
your philosophy comes from that whole Enlightenment era.
Yeah, because I feel like it's one of the only things that actually makes sense to me. Like and I don't know. I think that I am becoming a little bit more of like a collectivist in some ways, but really what it boils down to is, it's like, I'm not you. And as much as we are like a collective now as like a family, I'm still not you, and I never will be, you know? So on some level there is an individualistic mindset happening, because I can't read your mind.
Sure.
I just can't. So I think that's where my philosophy kind of boils down to, is it's like, yes, we need to look out after each other, but I'm only me, and I have to take control of that somehow, So there you go.
And to tie it all back together, I think that this movie did a great job of differentiating grace and faith.
You know what? That's true. And I actually think that's a good embodiment of kind of what I'm saying, where it's like they're individuals, but like they come out of it together, but still their own person,
Definitely.
I actually think that's a really good idea. Maybe I like Faith more than I thought initially.
I've turned you.
Yeah, maybe.
I actually think she's a pretty good character. I mean, like, I found it really endearing when she admitted that she made up her great life in New York and that her boyfriend Derek was fake.
Yeah.
I thought that was really charming, actually.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I still found her annoying. Like, she's too much of a little sister to me. I was like, God, so annoying. But we'll just disagree on that. People like it when we disagree.
Yeah.
So,
well,
more entertainment for the masses.
What we can agree on is that fight with the pepper spray was like the best thing of the whole movie.
Dude, that was actually really funny. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
That was funny. I did feel the different director. There's a different director in this one.
Yeah. Same writers, different director.
Same writers, different director. I did feel the different style in this one.
Well, as you said, it felt very much more action.
Yeah.
And comedy. Like, the other one was funny. This one was like overtly funny.
Yes. Yeah. This one was more like a haha and not a.
But I think that's also, and you're gonna not like what I have to say, but I think that's the benefit of having grace with another person.
I agree.
She had someone basically to like be funny around. Like,
it's true.
Her and Faith's dynamic of like estranged sisters. There's a familiarity there, but they don't get along, so they're snarky with each other.
Yeah.
And there were many funny moments around that dynamic, but you don't get them when it's just Grace by herself combing these halls of this manor.
Yeah.
The funny moments of the first one were the family being like so incompetent.
Yeah.
Another funny thing of this one was the dad of the Spanish guy being such a bad shot, and then his son. There's the dad, then there's his daughter who's like in her 20s, and then there's like a little boy who's maybe 12.
Yeah, at most.
When Grace kills his sister. Oh, and when Grace kills the sister, she says, "Say hi to Alex for me."
Yeah.
Killer line. I loved that. I was like, yes.
That was a good one.
Yes, girl. But that little boy signs up immediately to like start the game, and then has these like automatic revolvers.
He has an Uzi, is what it's called.
Okay,
Shout out COD MW2.
I was gonna say, you think the pacifist knows any of these things? Anyway,
where are my gamers at?
He just did like the Nixon fingers.
Yeah, where are the gamers at?
2 little peace hands on either side.
Yeah, and just me saying that is super cringe. If there's anyone under the age of 20 listening to this, they're gonna be like, "Oh God."
Who do we know under the age of 20?
Someone listening right now. Because they're cool.
If that's you, sound off in the comments.
Yeah, let us know in the comments.
Tell us how old we are to you.
Yeah, I'm actually really curious. That'll be funny.
Like the Crypt Keeper.
Oh.
That's a line from Freaky Friday.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Anyway, he's got these 2 Uzis, and he's just like scanning the room with them. Bullets are flying, and he also can't hit her
To save his life.
Truly.
Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
Yeah, it's really funny. Very funny.
Yeah.
So there you go.
What would you rate this movie?
I think like the same as the last one. Like, what did I do the last one in 8? I think, or did I do a 7?
I think we both said 8 because I said an 8 for the last one.
Yeah, whatever I said for the last one is what I feel for this one. Like, I feel the same way. If that was a 7 or an 8, that's how I feel about it.
I think it's an 8.
Yeah, and that's just the vibes.
Another thing that I thought was incredible is that
Mhm.
when Grace is like walking with the gun, going to save Faith, she starts singing the "Run, run, run! It's time to run and hide."
Yeah.
Which just blew me away. I wish that song had been a little more prevalent. But
Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't go the other way and do too much of it.
Yeah, and I think that emphasizes the lack of horror in this one compared to the first one. Like, there's not the creepy song.
I mean, they kick off and it's like 2 p.m.
Yeah.
So it's just like that's not a sinister time of day. It's a sleepy time of day.
I don't know. Yeah, all the Spanish people are taking their siestas right now. You know, they're like,
And I wish I were one of them.
Oh, sign me up, dude. The Spanish way of life is actually peak.
When we move to Spain, you know why? It's purely for siesta and their cuisine.
Dude, yeah, I know that the Spaniards are going to be like, no more Americans, but like, you got to up your cost of living then.
Two
you
more.
Know?
Two more, and we have a fun podcast.
Maybe if you guys actually had a functioning economy, I wouldn't move there. You know what I mean?
Well, now we'll never be able to. They'll hear you say that.
Oh, and that'll motivate them?
Now we got to go to Portugal.
The Germans have been saying it for years, and they haven't done shit about it. So, you know, that's all I'm saying.
I don't know enough about European geopolitics.
The Germans, you've never heard of the pigs?
Not in this context.
You ready for this? Portugal, Ireland, Greece, and Spain. And Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain. They're the pigs of Europe, smooching off of the rich countries of the north.
Well, now I've heard of Greece being a smoocher, but...
Mm-hmm.
Wow, okay. No, never heard that.
So, there you go.
That seems highly offensive.
Well, welcome to 2008.
I was going to say, I mean, like, the Germans are a different breed. Remember when...
You tell that to the 6 million Jews. You don't need to...
Oh, my God, Matthew. Boo. That's horrible.
They are.
I mean, do you remember when, like, the whole conflict in Syria was happening and a bunch of Syrians were moving to Germany, and that year the top searched German porn was refugee porn?
Don't even get me started. I will never forget that.
When that like came out, and I was just like, "What's wrong with you guys?" Like,
dude. And then the
what? How does what like? I don't want to think about it too hard, but like, what do you mean that's a genre?
It's because all the Germans, they sit there and they'll be like, "Oh, like we need to keep Germany." Sorry, for lack of a better term, pure-blooded. That's their attitude, whether they want to phrase it that way or not.
We cannot get into this.
But then they'll sit there and they'll be like, but the exotic woman. It's a bunch of hypocritical BS alt-right crap. Sorry, you know. And if anyone has a problem with that, look into the mirror and become a communist. That's all I can say. There you go.
Wait, if anyone has a problem with what?
What I just said.
Oh.
Yeah, if anyone has a problem, if you find that what I just said offensive or somehow quote unquote wrong because you believe in the pureness of your race, look in the mirror and then become a communist, and you're just as radical. You're just on the left. Okay? It's fine. There you go. That's my 2 cents.
I'm not even following why that would lead you to become a communist, or like why the inverse of that would be.
Because like communism, fascism, two sides of the same coin in a lot of ways. You know, gulags, internment camps. What's the difference? You know. And then like democracy, it's kind of like a triangle actually, because you know then you have like the Japanese internment camps and stuff like that.
Okay.
You know, and in the middle you have...
Have you guys ever read the book If You Give a Mouse a Cookie? It's like if you make a single like geopolitical reference around Matthew, he'll take it way too far and in a direction no one wants to talk about.
Sorry I'm calling out the fascists. Don't know what to say.
You're calling out like everybody.
I'm all about the enlightened centrism, okay? So there you go, guys. I'm like Switzerland. I'm really neutral on everything, but totally not.
I was gonna say, yeah, right. By neutral, you mean complicit, but go ahead.
Complicit?
I find Switzerland to be very complicit in things.
I think that Switzerland doesn't have a choice in a lot of times, you know? Like, I think that's their problem that they have from a geographic point of view. What are you going to do when you're surrounded by fascists, you know? So, it's hard.
Yeah, but like the whole thing of like the Swiss banks taking
That's
anybody in.
true.
Like, I just think that there's a lot of complicitness in the Swiss identity, and then they absolve themselves by being like, well, we're neutral. We're neutral in everything.
Yeah, and
But if, like, neutrality often just means complicit because you're allowing something to happen, or you're not condemning in any actionable way atrocity.
you know what I think is actually really interesting about what you just said, that the European Union and Switzerland just signed some more bilateral agreements to like move Switzerland closer to like European values and increase like regulation in the banking sector and stuff like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And yeah, for like currency purposes and trade purposes and things. And I mean, all of this is on Switzerland's terms on some level, but also like I think that the thing is Switzerland shares a lot of European, air quote, European values, whatever that means. But I do think that Switzerland is struggling with the identity stuff that you just put forward with the neutrality thing. Like, what does that really mean, you know?
Yeah.
Because I think that Oman is actually a better representation of what Switzerland wants to be, but Switzerland can't be anymore. Where Switzerland, like Oman's foreign policy attitude is friends with everyone, enemies with no one. That's literally their foreign policy. So it's like we're going to find common ground with every single person in the world and not be enemies with anyone. And like that's why you see a lot of like Middle Eastern like peace deals and stuff happening in Oman, like before Trump destroyed everything with Iran and everything that was happening in Oman. Because like Oman's like we're friends with the Iranians, you know, and we're also friends with the U.S. and everyone. And I think that digs you into a deep hole, like you're saying, in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I mean, on
Yeah.
the smaller level, I mean, and not to always bring back everything to being brethren, but a lot of, maybe not a lot, but some criticism that I've seen from like my peers and younger people of the whole Anabaptist pacifism movement is that when you think about atrocity, like, World War II, genocide, like all of that, if your stance is pacifism, are you not simply allowing all of that to take place? If you aren't willing to stand up and take action, is that radical? Is that truly a radical movement, or is that just allowing things for the sake of non-conflict?
You know, I think that this brings up an interesting point that like a lot of Christianity struggles with, which is like Jesus flipping the tables in the temple and stuff like that. Like, how do you square that hole? Or you know what I mean?
And I mean, like, there's other teachings of Jesus's that are used as well for like nonviolent protests and whatnot, of like turning the other cheek, and people often think that that means that like you'd be slapped again, which it does, but the whole point is that the person slapping you wouldn't be able to backhand you. They'd have to slap you with their palm, which would acknowledge you as their equal in the social norms of Jesus's day. That's what that means. And so it's like if you're kind of like forcing their hand to acknowledge your humanity and your equality and all this stuff.
Right.
But yeah, is there a difference? Like, can those be applied to every conflict, especially as they continue to escalate into, world wars or the kind of dramas that we're seeing play out where our own government is committing atrocities?
I actually think that this plays into what Grace is saying with when she turns down like the first marriage proposal and everything, is she's like, I'm not going to be complicit in the system. I mean, I know she kind of like says it where she's like, I'm not going to sell my soul or whatever, but it's like, at what point does and then like she kind of caves in a little bit when she does marry Titus, but it's like at what point do you cave in? I think that's an interesting philosophical gray area in the world of morality, I think that moralists like to view the world as this black and white. There's always an answer situation, when in reality there's actually probably not an answer, which makes me sound like a subjectivist, but I, you know,
Well, I think what's interesting, going
yeah,
back to the movie, is
yeah,
that the sisters switch the positions they take for that first marriage proposal. Where in the first one, Faith is like, she'll marry him, I'll marry him. We'll marry him, we'll do it.
mm,
And Grace is like, I don't want to do that. I don't want to sell my soul. And in the second one, Faith is telling her, don't sell your soul. I'll die. It's okay. And Grace finds what's worth her soul, which is that her sister's life is worth selling her soul.
I guess beyond just writing techniques, why do you think that's like why do you think they flip their positions
I mean, I
in
think
that
that
way?
that's their character growth.
Yeah, it's like the classic, you
Yeah,
grow and
exactly.
okay. Yeah. The flipped positions thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know that there's like a big philosophical thing there
Mhm.
compared to like what we've been talking about, but I just think that is good writing, and
Mm.
it's showing the relationship that they have been rekindling for this evening that they have together,
Yeah.
and um gives you insight into what each of them mean to each other.
Mm. Mhm. Mhm. Makes sense. I agree with you. I think that's interesting.
Compared especially to Titus, who kills his sister for,
Do you
you
think
know,
actually here this is something to think that I'm thinking about now is do you think that when Faith is like, yeah, she'll marry like your son or whatever at the first part, is she is has still accepted she's still under the umbrella or is okay being under the umbrella, and then towards the end she's like, oh no, I do see Grace's point of view now, where this is actually an oppressive system and it's actually not benefiting anyone.
I think that to do these kinds of readings,
Mm-hmm.
the characters can't see themselves as symbolic. I think to make like
No,
good good art like this,
yeah.
the characters can't view themselves or their situation as symbolic. It's why the Hunger Games is
Mm,
so effective, right? Because this love triangle isn't really like you. Yes, on the surface, it is a love triangle and it's a teen story, but then
mm-hmm.
you have PETA, who represents this like gentle lifestyle and like peace, and you have Gale, who is action. And Katniss has to choose in this world whether she wants peace or action, and they're just like physical embodiments of that.
Okay.
But it only works because no one in the world views them as symbolic in that way.
Well, except for the propaganda arm of the Capitol and stuff like that, they
No,
view
but
it.
they don't.
How so? What do you mean? How? Why wouldn't they? I'm not necessarily disagreeing with you. I just want you to expand a
Because
little bit on it.
the Capitol views Katniss and PETA as love struck teens. They
Oh,
never see they are introduced to Gale as
yeah,
Katniss's cousin. They don't see
yeah.
him as like a love triangle character. But, like Katniss is made out to be this symbolic figure in the world. So yes, in that way, sure, what I'm saying isn't exactly true. But she's made to be this like symbol of rebellion,
But
but
she doesn't view herself that
she
way.
doesn't view herself that way.
Right.
Other people do. She has a
Right.
hard time with that identity. Same with like Harry Potter being the chosen one.
Yeah.
Other people are putting that on him in the world, but like for this to work, like the way that they conceive of themselves can't be symbolic. And the way that they see their situation and the people they're interacting with, I don't think can be symbolic. Because
Mm.
the whole point of a character is the relationship that they have with
Interesting.
other
Okay.
characters.
I see what you're
And
saying.
so
Yeah.
I don't think that when Grace is fighting the Ladomises or this group, she's not thinking, oh, this is patriarchy. She's thinking, I'm fighting the devil. I'm fighting the
Mm.
literal devil
Mm-hmm.
and his
Mm-hmm.
cronies.
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to stay alive. And I want
Right.
my sister to stay alive. And so when Faith is hearing this marriage proposal, it's a way out of this situation where they're inches from death. So it's like, of course she'll say yes. We're going to die otherwise.
I see.
And when that changes, I don't think it's like, oh, we're fighting the system. It's we're fighting this one man who is the devil
Mm-hmm.
and his evil army of people around us. And it doesn't,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like, no one's thinking of this, like,
Yeah,
power
I guess.
structure.
Yeah, I definitely see. I know what you're saying. I guess I'm viewing it from an outsider's. Like, obviously, the devil is representing blah blah blah. So
Right.
that's how I'm viewing it with her thinking. But yeah, I guess I'm implanting my worldview into her worldview, sort of a thing.
And we're further out.
Yeah.
You know, it's not filmed from her exact POV.
Right. Yeah.
Because
It's all third
otherwise,
person.
she's not looking at
Yeah.
Titus as like, oh, he's a crony of the patriarchy. She's like, that's that guy that beat my ass, and like is gonna kill me if my big sister doesn't
Yeah.
marry him.
Yeah.
You know, like, and she's never seen Mr. LaBelle.
To be fair, I think this is where like the Hunger Games is interesting from a medium perspective because, and by medium I mean like ways to view content. Like where in the books it's all first person and you see Katniss's thoughts and you can't do that in the movies. And the one thing in Mockingjay Part 2 in the book Mockingjay, when they're at the round table with the final victors and they're like, what do we do? And in the movie, I was like, well, I don't understand what any of this means. And they try and portray it with like looks and stuff. But in the book, you really hear Katniss's thoughts of like, oh, these people are thinking this and this person's thinking this. And what do I think of this?
It's very much that dinner party in Dune.
It is. It is that dinner party in Dune, except only a page and not a chapter.
Not like 30 pages. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. No, it is kind of like that.
But so I guess to like answer your question is I think that Faith switches because they've like mended their relationship to the point where she respects her sister's integrity.
That makes sense.
And also these people have now hurt her and she doesn't want Grace stuck with them forever.
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I like it. Well, I think that's where we'll end it.
Mm-hmm.
I think this was actually really good. I think we had a lot of deep thoughts.
Yeah.
Let us know what your deep thought is. Get deep, man. Get crazy. Let us know your deep thought and let us know what you thought of the movie. If you have a Dear Maddie, please send it in. Please, I'm begging you. I'm like a little puppy dog. I'm like, please send it in. And follow us for the next episode of And Rolling. Bye.